Hello, Mary L. Trump. How are you, my friend?
Hello, Dina Badella. Hanging in there. I'm a little sleepy.
Well, is
Um,
that a
but
family thing? Is
I,
it genetic?
yeah, I'm a little worried that narcolepsy runs in the family, but hopefully
Well,
not.
I'm going to play more from where that came from in just a second of Mary Trump, Donald Trump's niece, mocking him for falling asleep during his first criminal trial in Manhattan multiple times now. He just keeps doing it every day in court, reportedly, which is not necessarily the biggest deal ever. For two reasons, it's very interesting, though. Number one, it is just strange, a sort of high stakes situation. And the very beginning, you would think you'd be a little bit more fresh. It's not like day after day after day has passed by where this trial has been going on and his freedom is on the line. So to be that uninterested in what's going on is a little bit strange, potentially concerning. But number two, there's some major hypocrisy here. Given that, and then I'll play the rest of this back and forth with Mary Trump, the MAGA movement has been accusing Joe Biden, Donald Trump specifically, of being Sleepy Joe, and he just is too sleepy. And in situations where it looks like Biden did doze off for a second, he gets attacked by the likes of Fox News, and that's indicative of some broader problem, and he's too old. And then Trump falls asleep in the most high stakes situation in a criminal trial, and they don't care. And so that's the hypocrisy, that the man who's been accusing his opponent of being too sleepy is in fact too sleepy. Here's more.
a lot of people made light of it, of course, but I also think it's meaningful that Donald in the first 2 days fell asleep for part of a trial. This is his first criminal trial of his life. You would think he'd be riveted. So I think he has no control. I don't mean narcolepsy. It's either a side effect to a medication or he's just tired. He's an elderly man. He's 77 and maybe he naps every day. We just don't know. We don't know what he does anymore. What do you make of it?
Well, I think we can't underestimate the extent of and the depth of the narcissistic injury he's suffering. One, he's in a situation in which he has no control, and worse, he is under the control of somebody else. There is somebody else in that room with all of the authority, and he has none. So that's already problematic for him. Secondly, sorry, I can't help laughing. Just because Donald is so mean to other people, he's so insulting and demeaning, that there was a bit of schadenfreude when the judge read into the record certain posts that prospective jurors had put on their social media pages. Donald invited the Thai boys to the White House, but they decided they'd rather go back to the cave, for example, and just pointing out how stupid he is, and he has to sit there and take it. This is I know this word is needs to be retired after November, but this is unprecedented in his lifetime. And it's a moment that unconsciously he's probably been dreading for the last 5.5 decades. So part of him was probably always terrified that it was going to come, but also he probably never believed it would, because he always gets away with everything. And here we are. And trust me, he understands how serious this is.
And I'll get to some reporting about this trial in just a little bit. But first, make sure you're subscribed to the YouTube channel by clicking the subscribe button and the like button and the alert bell. Very helpful. But also, to respond to what Mary Trump had to say, it is notable for the reason that I said, the hypocritical angle. Oh, he's accusing Joe Biden of being too sleepy. Now he's quite literally asleep in a high stakes situation. Okay, but you set that aside. And there's still more discussion to be had about why is he so uninterested in what's going on? Why is he so disengaged when this is a really important moment? And I think it gets to the sort of personality characteristics that Mary Trump is talking about. When Trump doesn't have the ability to control what's going on, and whenever he's not the positive center of attention, or the manner in which he's the center of attention doesn't really benefit him, I think he is prone to disengaging. Similar to how we get reporting about how uninterested he was in intelligence briefings and he couldn't pay attention because, yeah, sure, at the time he's the president and they're briefing him. So in that sense, he's getting attention, but it's not the type that he wants. And so in this scenario, he's in a criminal trial about him. So Trump, the name is being spoken quite a lot, but it's not the type of attention that keeps him energized. And so because he has no control and he's not getting that affirmational praise, he just sort of disengages and now he's sleepy, even though his freedom's on the line. And that definitely is indicative of who Trump is. And then I've been thinking about a lot lately, just as this trial has been in the news. And so a lot of people who are Trump defenders are out there pushing these tired talking points. I've been thinking about the fact that Trump's supporters are being hurt by their support for Trump, just like a lot of people are being hurt by the fact that Trump has support, if that makes sense. And so when you hear all of these Trump supporters saying things like Trump's being indicted for us, and he's standing in between persecution and us. He's taking the persecution that really would be directed our way if it weren't for him. And Trump often says, they're not coming after me. They're coming after you. I'm just in the way. And that's something that a lot of his supporters buy into. But in reality, that's not the case. He's getting you to donate money to him to pay for his legal fees because of his actions. Personal responsibility, do you remember that? And then law and order, do you remember that, Republicans? Come on. Stand by those principles you used to say you stood by. And then he's hoodwinking you into thinking that his own accountability, something that he brought onto himself, is persecution. And so again, getting you to fund his own defense of himself, which is a pretty crazy and unfortunate situation, which I've said a million times, but there's a second part to this as well. The focus of Trump on himself and keeping himself out of prison and talking about his myths of persecution and his myths of being victimized, that is time being spent talking about him when he should be talking about what he would do to make your life better. And it's taking the entire political conversation in a direction that is centered around Trump's prosecution, and he calls it persecution, and Trump's, again, false narratives of him being the biggest victim that has ever lived. And that's not supposed to be what politics is focused on. Go turn over or flip over to Biden's speech and see the focus of his speeches compared to Donald Trump. Trump is running a campaign sometimes vaguely about certain issues that he's lying about, but often about retribution, again, about his self-perceived victimhood. And that's not someone who is working in the interest of even his own supporters. Don't you want a political conversation that's centered around how we improve on issues that people are struggling with, how we bring forward solutions to the problems people are facing? But right now, so much bandwidth and so much time is being spent not on discussions of healthcare or increasing wages or how to help our veterans or how to improve infrastructure in our communities or how to address poverty or food insecurity, etc. Instead, we're spending a lot of time on the Trump story because it is historic and it is incredibly consequential. And so to Trump supporters, that's actually doing damage to you. You should have a Republican candidate who's not running a campaign about keeping himself out of prison and is running a campaign about you, not himself. Because that is what Biden's campaign is about, actual issues and improving people's lives. And then moving on from that, the reporting that I have for you from CNN is about the judge overseeing this case, Juan Merchan, deciding to not have the prosecution give the defense advance notice about the witness list because Trump is so prone to attacking witnesses and violating his gag order. So oftentimes the defense would get advance notice of the prosecution's witness list, but that is not going to happen in this case because of Trump already showing his willingness to go after family of the judge and then witnesses. And so he'd likely get this information and use it to intimidate these witnesses.
And when Todd Blanche, who is Trump's lawyer, proposed that he would assure the district attorney's office that Trump would not post about the witnesses if they shared their witness list, the judge responded, "I don't think you can make that representation."
So there the judge is not only saying, no, I'm not going to force them to give you the witnesses, but also I don't think you have control over your client. So not great for the defense team there. But these are the legal consequences of these political attacks, right? If you are not abiding by the gag order, the district attorney's office says, look, we're not going to extend the courtesy that we normally would to give you these witnesses. And this is something that I'm sure is very frustrating to the Trump lawyers, because they would love to know who is coming down the pipe so that they can adequately prepare. But the district attorney's office, clearly that is an argument. That is a fear that is well-founded. The judge agreed.
And it really is a scary situation, understanding Trump's willingness to put other people's lives in jeopardy by attacking them and sicking his followers on them. And I've been talking about on the bonus show, because we've been sort of covering this story about how Fulton County jurors in the grand jury that approved the indictment of Trump there, they were found, their names were found in information, and then they were targeted by Trump supporters and threatened. And it's terrifying, because people shouldn't be afraid to do their civic duty. And so whether it be witnesses who are obligated to show up for this, or jurors, or whoever else, court staff, they should feel safe and not afraid to do what is right and tell the truth just because Trump's going to go after them. Let me know what you thought of all that in the comments.